The Moon, Humanity's Next Colony. Written and published by Ciro Irmici. Feel free to subscribe for more content. Now let's get into the book. Introduction. The Moon as Humanity's Next Frontier. For as long as humanity has gazed at the night sky, the moon has been a symbol of wonder, mystery, and the limits of our reach. It was once a distant dream, an object of myth and legend, admired by countless generations but considered untouchable. That all changed in 1969 when humans first set foot on the moon, turning fiction into reality. The moon became not just a celestial body in the sky, but a place where humans could tread. Fast forward to today, and we find ourselves once again setting our sights on the moon. But this time the goal is far more ambitious, not just to visit but to stay. The idea of colonizing the moon, establishing a permanent human presence on its surface, has transitioned from science fiction to serious scientific exploration. Global space agencies and private companies alike are now racing toward this new frontier, envisioning a future where humans live and work on the moon, utilizing its resources and paving the way for further exploration of our solar system. But why the moon? What makes it the ideal candidate for humanity's first colony beyond Earth? The answers lie in a combination of practical, strategic, and scientific reasons. The moon offers proximity and stability, making it an ideal testing ground for the technologies and systems needed for life beyond our planet. Its unique position as a natural satellite gives us the opportunity to study the universe in ways that are impossible from Earth, while also serving as a potential hub for launching missions deeper into space, including the much-anticipated journey to Mars. Of course, colonizing the moon won't be easy. There are significant challenges that humanity must overcome, from the harsh, radiation-filled environment to the logistical hurdles of building self-sustaining habitats in such a remote location. Yet, with advancements in technology and international cooperation, many experts believe these obstacles can be conquered. As we embark on this journey, we must also consider the ethical, legal, and societal implications of living on another world. This book will explore every facet of this ambitious goal, diving into the history of lunar exploration, the strategic importance of the moon, the technologies that will make colonization possible, and the challenges we will face along the way. We will look at the role of private companies and international cooperation, and how lunar colonization could fundamentally alter the course of human history. In many ways, the moon represents our next giant leap. It is not just a destination but a stepping stone to the stars. The idea of humans living on the moon may seem like a far-off dream, but with each passing day, that dream inches closer to reality. We are on the cusp of a new era of exploration, one that could redefine our place in the universe. Welcome to the journey. Humanity's next great adventure starts here. Chapter 1. The History of Moon Exploration. Humanity's fascination with the moon stretches back thousands of years, with the earliest civilizations weaving stories about its phases, its presence in the night sky, and its connection to the tides and time. But for most of human history, the moon was simply a distant celestial object, out of reach and deeply mysterious. That all changed in the 20th century, when an unprecedented era of space exploration brought the moon within humanity's grasp. What once seemed a fantastical dream became an astounding reality. The space race, the first leap towards the moon. The journey to the moon is inseparable from the geopolitical tensions of the Cold War. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union found themselves in a heated competition for technological and ideological superiority. This competition extended into space, where both superpowers sought to demonstrate their prowess. What began as a race to launch the first satellite quickly escalated into a quest to land humans on the moon. In 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite, into orbit. The U.S. responded by accelerating its own space program, which culminated in the creation of NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, in 1958. This set the stage for an extraordinary era of space exploration, culminating in the Apollo program. The Apollo program, humanity's giant leap. NASA's Apollo program was a monumental effort designed with one clear goal: landing humans on the moon and returning them safely to Earth. The program experienced early setbacks, including the tragic loss of 3 astronauts in the Apollo 1 cabin fire during a ground test in 1967. However, these challenges only strengthened NASA's resolve. On July 20, 1969, the world watched in awe as Apollo 11 successfully landed on the Moon. Neil Armstrong, the mission's commander, descended the lunar module and became the first human to set foot on another world. His iconic words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind," echoed the magnitude of this achievement. Alongside Buzz Aldrin, Armstrong spent over 2 hours walking on the lunar surface, collecting samples and conducting experiments, while Michael Collins orbited the Moon in the command module. The Apollo missions continued until 1972, with a total of 6 successful Moon landings. These missions expanded our understanding of the Moon's geology, provided vital information about its formation, and paved the way for future exploration. While the Apollo program's primary focus was geopolitical, to assert U.S. dominance in space, it also awakened the world to the possibilities of space travel and lunar exploration. Scientific discoveries and lunar mysteries. The samples and data collected during the Apollo missions gave scientists unprecedented insight into the Moon's composition. We learned that the Moon is about 4.5 billion years old, formed from debris created by a collision between Earth and a Mars-sized body. The Apollo astronauts also discovered that the Moon's surface is covered in a layer of fine, powdery dust called regolith, and beneath it various minerals including titanium and iron were found. Perhaps one of the most tantalizing discoveries was evidence of water ice in permanently shadowed craters near the Moon's poles. While the water itself was not directly observed during the Apollo missions, data from later robotic missions confirmed its presence. This discovery would eventually play a crucial role in plans for a long-term human presence on the Moon. The pause in human lunar exploration. Despite the enormous success of the Apollo missions, the program ended with Apollo 17 in 1972. The reasons for this were largely political and financial. With the U.S. achieving its goal of landing on the Moon, public interest waned, and the costs of continuing lunar exploration were deemed too high. For decades, human exploration of the Moon remained a dream deferred, with NASA and other space agencies focusing on other objectives, such as the development of the Space Shuttle program and the establishment of the International Space Station. However, the dream of returning to the Moon never truly died. Robotic missions by various countries continued to study the lunar surface, and the idea of a permanent Moon base began to take root among scientists and visionaries alike. A new era, the return to the Moon. In the early 21st century, interest in the Moon was rekindled, spurred by advancements in technology and a new wave of international competition and cooperation. In 2009, NASA's Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, LRO, began mapping the Moon's surface in unprecedented detail, providing key data for future missions. Around the same time, other countries like China and India launched their own lunar missions, including China's Chang'e program, which successfully landed the first spacecraft on the far side of the Moon in 2019. Today we are on the brink of a new era of lunar exploration. NASA's Artemis program aims to return humans to the Moon by the mid-2020s, with the ultimate goal of establishing a sustainable human presence. This program, in collaboration with international partners and private companies, could serve as the foundation for permanent lunar colonies and further exploration of the solar system. Lessons learned and the path forward. The history of Moon exploration teaches us valuable lessons about human ingenuity, cooperation, and perseverance. From the triumph of Apollo 11 to the ongoing efforts of modern space programs, each step forward has brought us closer to a future where humanity might live and work on the Moon. As we look to the future, the Moon represents not just a place we can reach, but a stepping stone for humanity's greater ambitions. The challenges that once seemed insurmountable are now within our grasp. Our history with the Moon is rich with discovery, but the greatest chapters may still lie ahead. In the chapters to come, we'll explore what it will take to overcome the challenges of colonizing the Moon and what life on our celestial neighbor might actually look like. The Moon has always been there, guiding us, and now humanity is preparing to make it our next home. Chapter 2: Why the Moon? Strategic and scientific importance. As we stand on the cusp of humanity's return to the moon, it's essential to ask a fundamental question. Why the moon? With other planets and moons in our solar system seemingly ripe for exploration, what makes our closest celestial neighbor the prime candidate for human colonization? The answer lies in a mix of scientific potential, strategic positioning, and the moon's critical role in shaping the future of space exploration. The moon's proximity, a stepping stone to the stars. One of the most compelling reasons for focusing on the moon is its proximity to Earth. The average distance between Earth and the moon is about 384,000 kilometers, which in cosmic terms, is practically in our backyard. For space travel, this short distance is a significant advantage. A journey to the moon takes just a few days, compared to months or even years to reach other planets, making it an ideal location to test the technologies and systems needed for more distant exploration. This close distance provides us with an opportunity to stage missions to deeper parts of the solar system. The moon could serve as a natural launching pad for missions to Mars and beyond, offering a lower gravity well than Earth. This means that rockets launched from the moon require less fuel, reducing the overall cost and complexity of interplanetary travel. If we can build infrastructure on the moon, we will have a much easier time sending astronauts to explore far-flung worlds like Mars or even the moons of Jupiter. Scientific value: unlocking the mysteries of the universe. From a scientific standpoint, the moon offers an unparalleled opportunity to explore both its own history and that of the solar system. The moon's surface is a time capsule, virtually untouched by the erosion, weathering, and geological activity that constantly reshape Earth. Its ancient surface preserves billions of years of history, giving scientists insight into the early days of our planet and the formation of the solar system. By studying the moon's composition, scientists hope to learn more about the Earth-Moon system, particularly how the moon was formed. The leading theory, known as the giant impact hypothesis, suggests that the moon was created when a Mars-sized object collided with Earth early in the planet's history. The debris from this impact eventually coalesced into the moon we see today. Investigating the moon's surface and interior could provide critical evidence to support or refine this theory. Additionally, because the moon lacks an atmosphere and has only minimal magnetic fields, its surface is exposed to cosmic radiation and the solar wind in ways that Earth is not. By studying these interactions, we can learn more about the conditions in space and how they affect planets, giving us clues about the environments on other worlds. Perhaps one of the most exciting prospects for lunar exploration is the potential for setting up observatories on the far side of the moon. Shielded from the radio noise of Earth, this location could offer the quietest environment in our solar system for astronomical observations. Such an observatory would allow scientists to peer deeper into the universe than ever before, possibly uncovering new insights into dark matter, black holes, and the origins of the cosmos. Strategic resources. The moon as a supply hub. The moon's surface isn't just scientifically intriguing, it also holds key resources that could support human life and technological development. Perhaps the most critical of these resources is water. In recent years, scientists have confirmed the presence of water ice in permanently shadowed craters near the moon's poles. This discovery has massive implications for human settlement. Water can be used not only for drinking but also as a source of oxygen through electrolysis. Moreover, it can be broken down into hydrogen and oxygen, the primary components of rocket fuel, making it possible to establish refueling stations for space missions. In addition to water, the moon is rich in other resources that could be vital for a sustainable human presence. Helium-3, for example, is a rare isotope on Earth but is more abundant on the moon's surface. This isotope is particularly intriguing for its potential use in nuclear fusion, a form of clean energy that could revolutionize power generation both on Earth and in space. While the technology for practical nuclear fusion is still in development, having access to a supply of helium-3 on the moon could give humanity a significant edge in solving one of our greatest energy challenges. Beyond these resources, the moon's surface also contains valuable metals like titanium, iron, and aluminum. These materials could be used for constructing lunar habitats, building machinery, or even manufacturing goods that could be exported to Earth or used in space exploration. By leveraging these resources, we reduce the need to transport everything from Earth, making lunar colonization far more feasible. Strategic importance, political and economic factors. While scientific curiosity and the moon's resources are crucial, geopolitical considerations also play a significant role in the renewed interest in lunar exploration. As more nations and private companies turn their eyes toward the moon, the question of who will lead this new era of space exploration becomes more pressing. The moon is becoming a focal point for international competition, much like the space race during the Cold War. Nations such as China, the US, and Russia are developing their own lunar programs, while private companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin are pushing the boundaries of what's possible in space. The moon represents not only a scientific endeavor but also a strategic asset, as whoever controls its resources could gain a significant advantage in future space endeavors. There's also the potential for new industries to emerge, ranging from mining operations to space tourism, all of which could contribute to the global economy. On the other hand, there is also potential for cooperation. International agreements like the Outer Space Treaty of 1967 emphasize that space, including the moon, should be used for peaceful purposes and benefit all of humanity. As we move toward a future of lunar colonization, collaboration between nations could help ensure that space remains a place of peace and exploration rather than conflict. The moon as a catalyst for human progress. Beyond the immediate benefits of its resources, location, and scientific potential, the moon represents something more profound for humanity. It is a symbol of our ability to transcend our earthly limitations and expand our horizons. Colonizing the moon would be an enormous step forward for human civilization, an achievement that could unify us in ways we haven't seen since the Apollo era. The challenges we will face in establishing a lunar colony, from creating sustainable habitats to developing new technologies for survival in extreme environments, will push the boundaries of human ingenuity. These innovations won't just benefit space exploration. Many of the technologies developed for living on the moon could have direct applications on Earth, from advances in renewable energy to new methods of resource management. The moon, in this sense, isn't just a goal, it's a catalyst for human progress. Chapter 3: The Challenges of Living on the Moon. The idea of living on the moon evokes images of futuristic habitats, humans in spacesuits, and perhaps even the possibility of gazing at Earth from a lunar window. But while these visions are exciting, the reality of establishing a permanent human presence on the moon is fraught with enormous challenges. Living on our rocky satellite presents unique difficulties that far surpass those we face on Earth, from its inhospitable environment to the technical demands of creating self-sustaining habitats. Yet, overcoming these challenges is essential if humanity is to succeed in its dream of colonizing the moon. The harsh lunar environment. One of the most immediate and significant challenges of living on the moon is its environment, which is nothing like the relatively mild conditions we enjoy on Earth. First and foremost, the moon has no atmosphere to protect us from the extremes of space. This means that anyone living on the moon would be exposed to dramatic temperature swings, from boiling hot during the lunar day to freezing cold at night. The lunar day and night cycle is unlike anything on Earth. Each day and night on the moon lasts about 14 Earth days, meaning that any lunar habitat must withstand both intense heat, up to 127 degrees Celsius or 260 degrees Fahrenheit during the day, and extreme cold, as low as -173 degrees Celsius or -280 degrees Fahrenheit at night. These temperature fluctuations make it critical to design habitats that can regulate internal environments effectively, keeping astronauts comfortable and safe regardless of the conditions outside. Beyond the temperature, the lack of atmosphere also means that the moon's surface is constantly bombarded by cosmic rays and solar radiation. On Earth, our thick atmosphere and magnetic field protect us from most of this radiation, but on the moon, there is no such barrier. Prolonged exposure to this radiation poses significant health risks to astronauts, including the potential for radiation sickness, increased cancer risk, and damage to vital organs. Any long-term habitat will need to incorporate shielding, either through materials like regolith, the moon's surface dust, or advanced technologies, to protect its inhabitants from these dangers. Lack of air and water. Another stark difference between Earth and the Moon is the complete absence of breathable air. The Moon's atmosphere is so thin it's practically non-existent, meaning that any human presence will require a completely closed and controlled environment. Oxygen must be produced, stored, and recycled, which adds another layer of complexity to designing life-sustaining habitats. One potential solution is to extract oxygen from the Moon's regolith. The lunar soil contains oxygen in the form of oxides, and several experimental technologies have been developed to extract it. While this method is promising, it's still in its early stages and would require significant technological advancements to make it viable on a large scale. Water, essential for life as we know it, is also a major challenge. Although there is no liquid water on the Moon's surface, scientists have discovered ice in permanently shadowed craters at the poles. This water could be mined and used not only for drinking and growing food but also to produce oxygen and hydrogen for fuel. However, extracting and transporting this ice will be a massive technical and logistical challenge, requiring specialized machinery and infrastructure. Reduced gravity. Effects on the human body. One of the most unique aspects of the Moon is its reduced gravity, which is about 1/6 that of Earth. While this might sound like fun, imagine being able to leap 6 times higher than you can on Earth. It comes with its own set of complications. Human bodies are adapted to Earth's gravity, and extended periods in a low-gravity environment can have profound effects on our health. In space, astronauts have experienced muscle atrophy, bone density loss, and changes in cardiovascular function due to the lack of gravity. Although lunar gravity is stronger than the microgravity of space, it is still much weaker than what we are used to on Earth. Over time, these physiological changes could pose serious health risks for long-term lunar residents. To mitigate these risks, lunar habitats may need to include exercise facilities designed to simulate Earth-like conditions, such as resistance training to maintain muscle mass and bone strength. Scientists are also studying ways to artificially create gravity in space habitats, though such technologies are still far from being implemented on the Moon. Energy and power generation. Sustaining life on the Moon will require a continuous and reliable source of energy. Solar power is one of the most promising options, especially given the long periods of sunlight during the lunar day. However, the extended lunar night presents a significant challenge for solar power, as habitats will need to store enough energy to last through the 2-week-long periods of darkness. One solution is to position solar panels near the Moon's poles, where certain areas experience near-constant sunlight, especially on crater rims. These peaks of eternal light could provide a more reliable source of solar energy. Alternatively, energy storage systems such as advanced batteries or fuel cells would need to be developed to bridge the gap during the long lunar nights. Nuclear power is another potential energy source for lunar bases. Small, compact nuclear reactors could provide a steady supply of energy, independent of the day-night cycle, though the use of nuclear power comes with its own set of risks and challenges, particularly in ensuring the safety and disposal of nuclear materials. Building sustainable habitats. Constructing habitats on the Moon that can support human life is one of the greatest engineering challenges humanity has ever faced. These habitats must not only shield inhabitants from the Moon's hostile environment but also be self-sufficient in terms of air, water, food, and waste management. Current designs for lunar habitats often include using local materials, such as the Moon's regolith, as building materials. This concept, known as in situ resource utilization (ISRU), could reduce the need to transport massive amounts of construction supplies from Earth. Regolith could be used to 3D print walls and structures or as insulation to protect against radiation and temperature fluctuations. In addition to protection from the elements, lunar habitats must be designed to provide psychological comfort for their inhabitants. Living in isolated, confined environments for extended periods can take a toll on mental health. Therefore, habitat designs must consider not just functionality but also ways to promote well-being, such as incorporating natural light, communal spaces, and recreational activities. Logistical and technological hurdles. Finally, establishing a permanent presence on the Moon requires solving significant logistical challenges. Transporting materials, food, and supplies to the moon is incredibly expensive. Every kilogram of cargo sent from Earth costs tens of thousands of dollars, making resupply missions both costly and inefficient for long-term sustainability. To reduce dependence on Earth, lunar colonies will need to develop self-sustaining systems that can produce food, recycle waste, and generate resources locally. This could include hydroponic farming for food, water recycling systems, and energy-efficient technologies to minimize resource consumption. Communication between the Moon and Earth is another challenge, though less severe. Due to the Moon's proximity, real-time communication is possible, but establishing reliable networks for data transfer, emergency responses, and operational logistics will be critical, especially for remote areas like the lunar far side. The path ahead. While these challenges are immense, they are not insurmountable. Humanity has always thrived by overcoming obstacles, and the challenges of living on the Moon are no different. With advancing technology, international cooperation, and determination, we can turn the Moon from an inhospitable environment into a home for future generations of explorers. Chapter 4: Building Sustainable Lunar Habitats. Establishing a permanent human presence on the Moon requires a leap in imagination and engineering. On Earth, we take for granted the natural systems that sustain us. Air, water, food, and energy are all readily available in abundance. The Moon, on the other hand, offers none of these. Its barren landscape provides no atmosphere to breathe, no liquid water to drink, and no fertile ground to grow food. To survive and thrive on the Moon, humanity must build habitats capable of creating and maintaining these essentials, all within a harsh and unforgiving environment. The idea of building a home on the Moon might seem like something from science fiction, but today, it's on the brink of becoming reality. Governments, private companies, and space agencies are investing heavily in research and development, and while the challenges are immense, so too are the opportunities. The foundation of lunar habitats. In situ resource utilization. Transporting all the materials needed for a lunar colony from Earth would be an impossible logistical challenge, not to mention prohibitively expensive. Therefore, one of the key concepts for building lunar habitats is in situ resource utilization, ISRU. This approach focuses on using the Moon's own materials to build infrastructure and support life, reducing reliance on Earth-based supplies. The Moon's surface is covered in regolith, a fine, powdery dust that extends several meters deep in some areas. While it might look like little more than gray dirt, regolith holds incredible potential. Scientists are exploring ways to use regolith as a primary construction material, whether by sintering it into solid blocks, melting it into a form of lunar concrete, or even using advanced 3D printing technologies to create the walls and structures of habitats. 3D printing with regolith could revolutionize lunar construction, allowing us to build habitats that are not only strong and protective but also adaptable to the unique challenges of the Moon. By utilizing local materials, we avoid the enormous costs of shipping heavy building components from Earth and instead create sustainable solutions directly on the lunar surface. Radiation protection, shielding from space's harsh environment. One of the greatest dangers to humans on the Moon is the constant exposure to cosmic radiation and solar particles. On Earth, our thick atmosphere and magnetic field protect us from these harmful rays, but the Moon offers no such protection. Without shielding, anyone living on the Moon would be exposed to levels of radiation that could cause severe health problems over time, including cancer, organ damage, and other illnesses. To solve this, engineers are working on ways to shield lunar habitats from radiation. One promising approach is to cover habitats with thick layers of regolith, which can serve as an effective barrier against radiation. By burying parts of the habitat under several meters of lunar soil, we can create a relatively safe living environment, mimicking the protection provided by Earth's atmosphere. Some designs even suggest building habitats directly into the walls of lunar caves or lava tubes, natural formations that provide excellent protection against radiation and micrometeoroid impacts. Life support systems, creating a self-sustaining habitat. Living on the Moon will require closed-loop life support systems capable of recycling air, water, and waste to sustain the inhabitants. Without an atmosphere, Lunar colonists will need an artificial ecosystem inside their habitats, one that can create breathable air and purify water. The challenge is ensuring these systems work reliably and efficiently over the long term. One of the first priorities is oxygen production. Luckily, the Moon's regolith contains a significant amount of oxygen, bound up in minerals like silicon, iron, and magnesium oxides. By developing technology that can extract this oxygen, lunar bases could produce a steady supply of breathable air. In addition, water, which has been discovered in the form of ice at the Moon's poles, could be harvested and processed to supply both drinking water and oxygen. Food production will be another critical element of any lunar colony. Long-term habitation means we can't rely on shipments of food from Earth. Instead, we'll need to grow food on the Moon, likely through advanced methods such as hydroponics or aeroponics, where plants can be grown without soil in nutrient-rich water or mist. These systems will allow colonists to grow fresh produce, providing vital nutrition and psychological comfort in the form of familiar, healthy meals. In this self-contained environment, every resource must be recycled as efficiently as possible. Water purification systems will need to clean and recycle water from every source, including waste. Similarly, waste management systems will be designed to convert organic waste into compost or energy, ensuring that nothing is wasted. Such systems are already being tested on the International Space Station (ISS), and advancements in these technologies will be crucial for supporting life on the Moon. Energy, powering the Moon colony. Power generation on the Moon poses another significant challenge, particularly given the long lunar nights, which last about 14 Earth days. Solar power is a natural choice, as the Sun provides abundant energy during the lunar day. Solar panels could be deployed across wide areas to capture this energy, but the problem arises when the Sun sets and the Moon plunges into its lengthy night. To solve this, lunar bases will need energy storage systems that can provide power through the darkness. Batteries and fuel cells capable of storing excess energy generated during the day are one option, but researchers are also exploring the potential of nuclear power. Compact, reliable nuclear reactors could offer a steady supply of energy, unaffected by the lunar day-night cycle. This technology, although still in development, could provide the consistent power needed for a functioning colony. At the Moon's poles, certain regions receive near-constant sunlight, a phenomenon known as peaks of eternal light. These areas, particularly around the South Pole, are prime candidates for setting up solar farms, which could generate continuous power and significantly reduce the challenges posed by the lunar night. Psychological and social needs. Building a human-friendly environment. While the technical aspects of building a lunar habitat are daunting, the human element is just as critical. Life on the Moon will be isolated, confined, and physically demanding, and it's essential to consider the psychological well-being of those who live there. Isolation, separation from Earth, and the harshness of the environment can take a toll on mental health. To mitigate this, habitats must be designed with not just functionality but comfort in mind. Access to natural light, or artificial lighting that mimics Earth's day-night cycle. Communal spaces and recreational facilities can help improve mood and reduce stress. Additionally, it's important to create a social structure that supports cooperation and teamwork. Living in close quarters with a small group of people for extended periods requires strong interpersonal skills and a supportive community. Communication with Earth will remain vital, both for technical reasons and for maintaining emotional connections with loved ones. Though time delays in communication are short due to the Moon's proximity, maintaining strong links between Earth and Moon residents will be crucial for morale. The first lunar colony, a vision of the future. Building sustainable habitats on the Moon is not just a technical challenge, it's the beginning of a new era in human history. The first lunar colony will be a small, carefully planned settlement, designed to test the limits of our technology and our adaptability. But as technology advances and we learn from these early efforts, we could see larger colonies develop, with hundreds or even thousands of people living and working on the Moon. These colonies could eventually become hubs for scientific research, industrial activity, and even tourism. The resources we harvest from the Moon could support further space exploration, providing the fuel and materials needed for missions to Mars and beyond. The moon could become humanity's gateway to the solar system, a vital outpost that helps us take the next giant leap into space. Chapter 5. Mining the Moon, Resources for Earth and Beyond. The idea of mining the moon might sound like the plot of a science fiction novel, but today, it's becoming a real possibility. As humanity looks beyond Earth for the resources we need, the moon is emerging as a potential gold mine. Though, ironically, the minerals we're after aren't gold at all. Instead, the focus is on materials that could power the future, both on Earth and in space, and the moon's unique environment offers valuable opportunities for resource extraction that could redefine how we think about mining. Why the moon? A treasure trove of resources. The moon's surface, though barren and desolate, hides a wealth of resources beneath its dust. Over billions of years, the moon has been bombarded by meteors and cosmic rays, creating a surface rich in a variety of materials that could be used for construction, fuel, and even energy generation. Unlike Earth, where geological activity has buried or reshuffled many valuable minerals, the moon's surface is relatively undisturbed, making it a repository of raw materials. One of the most promising resources on the moon is helium-3, a rare isotope that is incredibly scarce on Earth but more abundant on the lunar surface. Helium-3 is especially exciting because of its potential use in nuclear fusion, a process that could provide nearly limitless, clean energy. While nuclear fusion technology is still in its infancy, many scientists believe it could one day be the key to solving our global energy crisis. If we could harvest helium-3 from the moon and perfect fusion technology, it could revolutionize the way we power our planet. In addition to helium-3, the moon holds deposits of other valuable minerals, such as titanium, iron, and aluminum. These materials could be used to build infrastructure on the moon, reducing the need to transport construction materials from Earth. By mining locally, we could produce the building blocks for lunar bases, spaceports, and even spacecraft, laying the foundation for a sustainable lunar economy. Water, the moon's most precious resource. While metals and minerals are important, perhaps the most valuable resource on the moon is water. For years, scientists suspected that water might exist in the form of ice in the permanently shadowed craters near the moon's poles. This was confirmed in recent missions, revealing significant deposits of ice that could be mined and processed into liquid water. Water is critical for human survival, but its value goes far beyond drinking or agriculture. Water can be split into its constituent elements, hydrogen and oxygen, both of which are essential for life and space travel. Oxygen, obviously, is needed for breathable air, while hydrogen and oxygen together can be used to produce rocket fuel. This means that lunar water could support not only life on the moon but also serve as a refueling station for spacecraft, enabling deeper space exploration. By setting up mining operations to extract and purify this water, we could create a self-sustaining lunar colony where astronauts wouldn't have to rely on expensive water shipments from Earth. Moreover, if the moon becomes a key stopover for space missions, lunar water could be the fuel that powers future journeys to Mars and beyond. Mining techniques. The challenges of lunar extraction. Mining on the moon is no easy task. The lunar environment presents a host of challenges that miners don't face on Earth. For one, the low gravity on the moon, about 1/6 of Earth's gravity, means that traditional mining techniques will need to be adapted. Machines designed for digging, drilling, and hauling materials on Earth may not function the same way in the moon's reduced gravity. Additionally, the fine, abrasive nature of lunar dust, or regolith, poses another challenge. This dust gets into everything from machinery to spacesuits, and can cause significant wear and tear on equipment. To address these issues, engineers are developing new tools and technologies specifically for lunar mining. Robots and autonomous vehicles could play a crucial role, performing tasks that would be difficult or dangerous for humans. These machines could be designed to operate in the extreme temperatures and harsh conditions of the lunar surface, digging deep into craters to extract water ice or mining valuable minerals from the regolith. Another challenge is the distance between Earth and the moon. While communication delays are minimal, the cost and logistics of transporting equipment and personnel to the moon make it essential that mining operations be as efficient and automated as possible. In the long run, the goal is to establish a fully operational lunar mining system that can run with minimal human intervention, reducing costs and risks. Environmental and ethical considerations. As exciting as lunar mining may be, it raises important questions about environmental impact and ethical responsibility. The moon, untouched by human hands for billions of years, could be fundamentally altered by large-scale mining operations. While the moon may seem lifeless and barren, it is still part of our shared cosmic heritage. How do we balance the desire to extract valuable resources with the need to preserve the moon as a place of scientific study and cultural significance? International treaties, such as the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, state that the moon should be used for the benefit of all humanity, not for the exclusive profit of a single nation or company. However, these treaties were written long before the technology to mine the moon existed. As private companies and governments move closer to establishing mining operations on the moon, we will need to develop new legal frameworks to ensure that lunar resources are used responsibly and equitably. Moreover, mining the moon could have unintended consequences for future generations. While the moon's resources are vast, they are not infinite. Overextraction could damage the lunar environment in ways we do not yet fully understand. This is particularly concerning when it comes to water ice, a resource that is not renewable in the traditional sense. If we deplete these water reserves, we could limit the moon's potential to support life and exploration in the future. The economic potential, a new frontier for industry. Despite the challenges and ethical considerations, the economic potential of lunar mining is undeniable. As Earth's resources become increasingly strained by population growth and industrial demand, the moon offers a new frontier for resource extraction. The materials we mine from the moon could be used not only to support life and exploration in space but also to supply industries on Earth. For instance, metals like titanium and rare earth elements could be extracted from the moon and sent back to Earth, where they are in high demand for advanced technologies such as electronics, aerospace engineering, and renewable energy systems. Helium-3, while speculative, could become a cornerstone of the energy industry if nuclear fusion technology advances. Additionally, the infrastructure we build to support lunar mining could spur the development of a space-based economy. Lunar mining operations would require transportation, energy production, and construction industries to expand into space, creating new jobs and industries that were once unimaginable. The moon could become not just a place to mine resources, but a hub for scientific research, tourism, and trade, connecting Earth to the wider solar system. A vision for the future. The moon as a launchpad for humanity. Mining the moon is about more than just extracting resources. It's about securing humanity's future in space. The materials and technologies developed through lunar mining could lay the groundwork for colonizing other planets, like Mars. If we can create a sustainable, self-sufficient colony on the moon, we will have taken the first step toward becoming a multiplanetary species. In this vision of the future, the moon becomes a bustling hub of activity, with mining operations, research stations, and spaceports all working together to push the boundaries of human achievement. The resources we extract from the moon will not only fuel further exploration but will also help us solve some of the most pressing problems on Earth, from energy shortages to resource depletion. Chapter 6: Space Law and Ownership of the Moon. As humanity pushes further into space, one of the most complex and often overlooked challenges is the question of ownership. Who owns the moon? Who has the right to extract its resources or build habitats on its surface? These are not simply philosophical musings. They are pressing legal and ethical questions that must be addressed before large-scale lunar colonization can become a reality. The moon, much like the vast expanse of space, doesn't belong to any one nation or entity. Historically, this has been enshrined in international treaties, designed to ensure that space exploration remains a shared venture for the benefit of all humanity. However, as private companies and governments gear up for lunar missions with commercial interests in mind, the old frameworks may no longer be sufficient to address the complexities of a future where the moon could play a central role in the global economy. The Outer Space Treaty, the legal foundation. The cornerstone of space law is the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, a document that has been signed by more than 100 countries, including the major spacefaring nations like the United States, Russia, and China. The treaty establishes that space, including the moon and other celestial bodies, is the province of all mankind and that it cannot be claimed by any nation. It forbids the placement of weapons of mass destruction in space and ensures that space exploration is to be conducted for peaceful purposes only. The treaty also states that no country can claim sovereignty over the moon or any other celestial body. In essence, this means that no one can own the moon in the way that nations claim territories on Earth. Instead, the moon is treated as a common heritage, belonging to everyone and no one at the same time. However, while the Outer Space Treaty provides a framework for peaceful exploration, it leaves many questions unanswered, especially as space activities shift from government-led exploration to commercial ventures. The treaty does not explicitly address whether private companies or individuals can own resources they extract from the moon or how disputes over lunar resources should be resolved. The Moon Agreement, a missed opportunity. In an attempt to fill the gaps left by the Outer Space Treaty, the Moon Agreement was introduced in 1979. This treaty aimed to extend the principles of the Outer Space Treaty by specifically addressing the use of the moon and its resources. It declared the moon and its natural resources the common heritage of mankind and proposed that any benefits derived from lunar resources should be shared among all countries, especially developing nations. The Moon Agreement, however, failed to gain significant traction. Major spacefaring nations, including the United States, Russia, and China, did not sign it. One of the main reasons for this was the treaty's vague language about resource sharing, which made it unclear how profits from lunar mining would be distributed. Without the participation of these key players, the Moon Agreement remains a largely symbolic document, leaving the legal landscape of lunar resource extraction uncertain. Private companies and the new frontier. The rise of private companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others has transformed the space industry, bringing it into a new era where the potential for profit is driving innovation. These companies are not just interested in sending astronauts to the moon, they have ambitions of extracting resources, building habitats, and establishing permanent settlements. But the question remains, under current international law, do they have the right to do so? Some countries, like the United States and Luxembourg, have passed laws that allow their citizens and companies to own and sell resources extracted from celestial bodies. In 2015, the United States passed the Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act, which explicitly grants U.S. companies the right to own and sell materials they mine from the moon, asteroids, or other celestial bodies. Luxembourg followed suit with similar legislation, hoping to position itself as a hub for space mining companies. However, these national laws are not universally accepted, and they raise concerns about the fairness of space exploration. Critics argue that allowing private ownership of lunar resources could lead to a space grab, where wealthy nations and corporations monopolize the moon's most valuable assets, leaving other countries with limited access to the benefits. This creates a tension between the idea of space as a common good and the commercial realities of resource extraction. The ethics of lunar ownership. At the heart of the legal debate is a deeper ethical question. Should anyone be allowed to own parts of the moon? For many, the moon holds a special place in human culture. It has been a symbol of mystery, wonder, and the unattainable for centuries. The idea of dividing it up for profit can feel unsettling, as though we are commodifying something that belongs to all of humanity, not just those with the resources to reach it. There is also the issue of environmental preservation. While the moon may seem barren and lifeless, it is still a unique and untouched part of our solar system. Large-scale mining operations could drastically alter the lunar landscape in ways we do not yet fully understand. Just as we are grappling with the consequences of resource extraction on Earth, we must consider the long-term impact of human activity on the moon. Many space ethicists argue that we need to adopt a stewardship mindset when it comes to the moon. Rather than seeing it as a resource to be exploited, we should view the moon as a shared responsibility, one that must be managed in a way that balances exploration with preservation. International cooperation, the way forward. Given the complexity of these legal and ethical issues, it's clear that no single nation or company can dictate the future of lunar exploration. Instead, what is needed is a new era of international cooperation, where countries and private entities come together to establish rules and guidelines that ensure fair and responsible use of the Moon. Organizations like the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, UNUSA, and the International Institute of Space Law IISL, have been working to bring nations together to discuss these issues. However, the rapid pace of technological advancement means that we may need to update existing treaties or create entirely new frameworks to address the unique challenges of lunar colonization and resource extraction. Some have proposed the idea of a lunar commons, where resources are shared and managed collectively by an international body. Under this system, countries and companies could extract resources, but they would be required to share a portion of the benefits with the global community, particularly with countries that do not have the means to participate in space exploration directly. This could help ensure that the wealth generated from lunar resources is distributed more equitably and that the Moon remains a place of peaceful cooperation. Conclusion: a legal frontier in need of clarity. The legal and ethical questions surrounding lunar ownership are complex and unresolved. As we stand on the brink of a new era of space exploration, it's clear that we need a fresh approach to managing the Moon's resources. The Moon belongs to all of humanity, and while it holds incredible potential for scientific discovery and economic growth, we must ensure that its benefits are shared and that its environment is protected for future generations. The road ahead requires cooperation, innovation, and a commitment to fairness. If we can navigate these challenges, the Moon could become not just a resource-rich outpost, but a model for how humanity can explore space in a way that respects both the rights of all people and the fragility of the cosmos. Chapter 7: The Role of Private Companies in Lunar Exploration. In the not-so-distant past, space exploration was the exclusive domain of national governments. The Apollo missions, the first steps on the Moon, and the initial leaps into the cosmos were driven by public agencies, most notably NASA and the Soviet space program. But the landscape of space exploration is changing rapidly. Today, private companies are not just participants in space ventures, they are leading the charge. From rockets to reusable spacecraft, these companies are transforming our vision of what is possible, and their role in the future of lunar exploration is becoming indispensable. The arrival of companies like SpaceX, Blue Origin, and others has brought a new dynamism to space exploration. Their ambitions stretch beyond Earth's orbit, aiming directly at the Moon. These companies are not only developing the technology to make lunar missions more feasible but are also crafting bold visions of what a future lunar economy might look like. As private companies move from partners to pioneers, their involvement is changing the rules of the game. From government to commercial ventures, a shift in focus. The shift from government-led to private-led space exploration didn't happen overnight. Historically, space exploration was seen as a geopolitical contest. The United States and the Soviet Union competed fiercely during the Cold War, with the Moon landing serving as a monumental achievement in this race. The Apollo program was fueled by national pride, scientific curiosity, and a desire to demonstrate technological superiority. But with the end of the Apollo missions and the winding down of the space race, interest in human lunar missions waned. The cost and risks seemed too great for the reward, and for decades lunar exploration was put on hold. Enter the private sector. In the early 2000s, as technological advancements made space travel more accessible, visionary entrepreneurs began to see opportunities where governments saw obstacles. Companies like SpaceX, founded by Elon Musk, and Blue Origin, led by Jeff Bezos, were born from a belief that space travel could be more efficient, more affordable, and, crucially, more frequent. These companies are not burdened by the same political constraints as governments, allowing them to take more risks and push the boundaries of what is possible. Their ambitions extend well beyond launching satellites or resupplying the International Space Station. SpaceX, for example, has explicitly stated its goal of enabling human life to become multiplanetary. The Moon is seen as the first step toward that larger goal. Similarly, Blue Origin envisions a future where millions of people live and work in space, with the Moon playing a central role in that vision. For these companies, The moon is not just a destination but a key part of the infrastructure for human expansion into the cosmos. Technological innovation, making lunar missions feasible. One of the most significant contributions private companies have made to lunar exploration is technological innovation. SpaceX, in particular, has revolutionized space travel with its development of reusable rockets. The Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy have drastically reduced the cost of launching cargo and people into space by allowing rockets to return to Earth and be reused. This breakthrough has fundamentally altered the economics of space travel, making frequent and sustainable missions to the moon much more feasible. Blue Origin, with its New Shepard and New Glenn rockets, is also working toward developing reusable spacecraft designed for both lunar and deep space missions. Blue Origin's long-term vision includes creating a transportation system that will make space travel as routine as air travel is today. This shift, from one-off government missions to potentially regular, commercially driven lunar landings, represents a new era in how we think about the moon. Moreover, private companies are developing innovative spacecraft specifically designed for lunar exploration. SpaceX's Starship, a fully reusable spacecraft, is currently under development and is designed to carry both cargo and humans to the moon and beyond. NASA has already selected Starship as part of its Artemis program, with the aim of returning astronauts to the lunar surface in the coming years. The fact that a private company is at the heart of this historic mission demonstrates just how far commercial space ventures have come. Lunar business, mining, tourism, and beyond. For private companies, the moon is not just a place to visit. It's a potential business hub. The moon's resources, as discussed in previous chapters, hold significant economic value. Private companies are eyeing the potential to mine valuable materials, such as helium-3, rare earth metals, and water ice. The ability to extract and use these resources could transform the moon into a vital supply station for deeper space exploration. The idea of space tourism also looms large. SpaceX and other companies have already begun offering suborbital spaceflights to wealthy individuals willing to pay for the once-in-a-lifetime experience of seeing Earth from space. As technology develops, it's not hard to imagine lunar tourism becoming a reality. Imagine a future where visiting the moon is not just the domain of astronauts but open to everyday people, albeit the very wealthy at first. Lunar hotels, guided tours of historical sites like the Apollo 11 landing spot, and even luxury space resorts could become part of a burgeoning lunar economy. Beyond mining and tourism, there is the potential for manufacturing in space. Some companies envision building infrastructure on the moon, such as habitats or factories, where goods can be produced in the unique environment of low gravity. This could lead to new industries that we can't even fully imagine yet. Industries that might one day make use of the moon's low-gravity vacuum environment and access to raw materials. Collaboration between public and private sectors. Despite the rapid rise of private companies in space exploration, collaboration with governments remains crucial. NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon by the mid-2020s, is heavily reliant on private companies. SpaceX, for instance, is playing a key role in developing the spacecraft that will land astronauts on the moon. Similarly, Blue Origin is part of a consortium working with NASA to develop the technologies needed for a sustainable lunar presence. This collaboration reflects a new model for space exploration, where governments provide funding, regulatory oversight, and long-term scientific goals, while private companies bring innovation, efficiency, and commercial interests. This partnership benefits both sides. Governments can achieve their space exploration objectives without bearing the full financial burden, and private companies can leverage government contracts and expertise to advance their own technological and business goals. Such public-private partnerships are likely to become even more essential as we move toward the goal of a permanent lunar colony. Governments can help establish international agreements and regulatory frameworks, ensuring that space exploration remains peaceful and benefits all of humanity. Meanwhile, private companies can continue to innovate, making space travel cheaper, safer, and more frequent. Challenges and risks. While the rise of private companies in space exploration brings immense potential, it also raises important challenges and risks. One concern is the commercialization of the moon. If private companies are allowed to mine resources, build infrastructure, or develop tourism without proper regulation, there's a risk that the moon could become a space version of the Wild West, where profit motives outweigh ethical considerations and long-term sustainability. Furthermore, the competition between private companies, each with its own interests and agendas, could lead to conflict. As more companies venture into space, there may be disputes over who has the rights to certain areas or resources on the moon. This could create tensions not only between companies but also between nations, especially as countries like China and Russia pursue their own lunar ambitions. Finally, there's the issue of space debris. The more activity we see around the moon, the more we risk polluting space with discarded spacecraft, spent rocket stages, and other debris. This could pose a danger to future missions, as collisions with debris could damage spacecraft or threaten astronauts' safety. The path ahead: a lunar economy. Private companies are transforming the landscape of space exploration, and their role in lunar exploration will only continue to grow. With the right balance of innovation, regulation, and international cooperation, these companies could help create a thriving lunar economy, one that supports not only scientific discovery but also industry, commerce, and even leisure. The moon, once seen as an unreachable destination, is now within our grasp. As private companies continue to develop the technology and business models needed to make lunar missions feasible, they are opening up new possibilities for humanity's future in space. The next few decades will likely see a combination of public and private efforts to establish a permanent human presence on the moon, setting the stage for humanity's next giant leap. The moon may soon be not just a place for exploration, but a place where humans live, work, and build a new future. Chapter 8: International Cooperation and Moon Colonization. As humanity turns its gaze back toward the moon, one thing becomes clear: the journey to the moon is no longer the pursuit of a single nation. Unlike the days of the Cold War, when the space race was dominated by rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, today's push for lunar colonization is a more cooperative and global endeavor. The next steps on the moon will likely be shaped not by competition alone, but by collaboration across borders, involving governments, private companies, and international organizations. The complexity of establishing a long-term human presence on the moon is such that no single nation, no matter how advanced, can achieve it in isolation. From sharing technological expertise to pooling financial resources, cooperation is becoming the cornerstone of modern space exploration. But while the idea of global teamwork might sound straightforward, the reality is far more nuanced. Nations come to the table with their own ambitions, strategies, and limitations, making collaboration both essential and challenging. The role of space agencies: a global effort. One of the driving forces behind this new era of cooperation is the collective work of space agencies from around the world. NASA, the European Space Agency (ESA), Roscosmos, Russia's space agency, and China's CNSA, among others, are actively developing lunar missions with an eye toward working together on key aspects of exploration. Each brings its own strengths, whether it's NASA's experience in manned spaceflight, ESA's prowess in space technology, or Russia's long history in rocket design. The most prominent example of international collaboration is NASA's Artemis program, which aims to return humans to the moon by 2025. Artemis is not just a NASA mission. It's an international effort involving a range of countries through the Artemis Accords, a series of agreements that outline shared principles for lunar exploration. These accords emphasize peaceful exploration, the sharing of scientific data, and a commitment to protect heritage sites like the Apollo landing spots. Through these agreements, countries such as Japan, Canada, Italy, and the United Arab Emirates have committed to contributing technology, expertise, and even astronauts to the mission. ESA is playing a vital role in Artemis, supplying the European Service Module, which will provide power and propulsion for NASA's Orion spacecraft. This partnership demonstrates that major space missions can no longer be thought of as strictly national projects. They are now collaborative ventures that rely on contributions from multiple countries. China, meanwhile, is pursuing its own lunar ambitions with an eye on international cooperation. In recent years, China has made significant strides in space exploration, including landing the Chang'e 4 mission on the far side of the moon, the first such mission in history. China has expressed interest in working with other nations on lunar exploration, although its collaboration with the U.S. is limited due to political restrictions. Nonetheless, China's growing capabilities and interest in lunar colonization make it a key player in any future international efforts. Pooling resources, the economic and logistical necessities. Lunar exploration is not just about sending a few missions and collecting rocks, it's about building the infrastructure for a long-term presence. This kind of endeavor requires an enormous investment of resources, both financial and technological. No single nation can afford to shoulder the cost of lunar colonization alone, and that's where international cooperation becomes essential. Pooling resources allows countries to share the financial burden. Space programs are notoriously expensive, and by collaborating, nations can distribute costs across multiple budgets. This makes it more feasible to build complex infrastructure like lunar bases, communication networks, and transportation systems. For instance, while NASA might lead the Artemis mission, the contributions from ESA and other partners help offset the overall cost, making the mission more sustainable in the long run. Cooperation also brings the benefit of shared technology. Different nations and space agencies have unique areas of expertise. By working together, they can develop new technologies more quickly and efficiently than if each country were to work in isolation. A lunar base, for example, could be the product of international innovation. One country might provide the energy systems, another might develop life support technologies, and yet another could lead in habitat construction. This cross-pollination of ideas and technology accelerates progress, allowing humanity to reach the moon faster and more sustainably than any one nation could achieve alone. Diplomacy and peaceful exploration. Beyond the practical and economic reasons for collaboration, there's a deeper, more philosophical reason for international cooperation. Space exploration offers a unique opportunity for diplomacy. In a world often divided by politics, economics, and ideology, space has historically been a rare realm of peaceful collaboration. The International Space Station, ISS, is a prime example of this. Since its inception, the ISS has brought together the United States, Russia, Japan, Europe, and other countries in a spirit of scientific cooperation. Despite political tensions on Earth, astronauts from different nations work side by side in space, conducting research that benefits all of humanity. This model of cooperation has inspired similar hopes for the future of lunar exploration. As we move toward building a human presence on the moon, there's an opportunity to continue this tradition of peaceful exploration. The moon could become a shared space where nations collaborate not only for scientific discovery but for the benefit of humanity as a whole. The principles of non-appropriation outlined in the Outer Space Treaty, which prevents any nation from claiming sovereignty over the moon, reinforce this idea. No one owns the moon, and its resources should be used responsibly for the good of all. However, peaceful collaboration is not a given. As more countries and private companies pursue lunar missions, the potential for competition over resources, territory, and prestige remains. To avoid conflict, clear rules of engagement and cooperation must be established, which is where diplomacy plays a crucial role. International agreements, like the Artemis Accords, are a starting point, but they will need to evolve as the scope of lunar exploration expands. Challenges to cooperation. Despite the benefits, international cooperation in space is not without its challenges. Different countries have different priorities, and aligning them can be difficult. For some nations, lunar exploration is primarily about scientific discovery. For others, it's about economic opportunity or geopolitical influence. These competing interests can create friction when it comes to decision-making. There's also the issue of trust. Space technology has military applications, and countries may be hesitant to share certain innovations or technologies with potential rivals. This is particularly true when it comes to advanced propulsion systems, communications infrastructure, or robotics, which could have dual uses in defense. Navigating these concerns while maintaining an open, collaborative spirit will require careful diplomacy. Additionally, political changes on Earth can affect space cooperation. Governments change, priorities shift, and budget cuts can threaten international partnerships. For example, if one major spacefaring nation decides to reduce its investment in lunar exploration, it could have a ripple effect on ongoing international projects. Ensuring the continuity of these projects requires long-term commitment, regardless of the political landscape. The future of lunar exploration, a shared vision. In the coming decades, the moon could become a symbol of international unity, a place where humans from all over the world come together to push the boundaries of what's possible. Whether it's constructing a lunar base, mining resources, or conducting scientific research, the key to success will be cooperation. The moon presents a new frontier, one that offers both extraordinary opportunities and significant challenges. By working together, nations can overcome the technological, financial, and logistical hurdles of lunar colonization, making the dream of a sustainable human presence on the moon a reality. The collaborative model seen in projects like the ISS and the Artemis program is a blueprint for how we might approach the moon, as a shared resource, a shared challenge, and ultimately, a shared triumph. In the end, the story of lunar colonization may be written not by one country or one company but by humanity as a whole. It will be a testament to what we can achieve when we look beyond our differences and work together toward a common goal. Chapter 9. The Psychological and Social Impact of Living on the Moon. Living on the moon is not just a technical or physical challenge, it's also a profound psychological and social one. While the focus of lunar colonization often revolves around the logistics of survival, habitat construction, water and air production, and resource management, the human experience of living in such an isolated and extreme environment is just as crucial to consider. What will it mean for people to live so far from Earth, in a place that is, by its very nature, hostile to human life? The human mind is adaptable, but the conditions on the moon present a unique set of challenges that could impact mental health, social dynamics, and the long-term sustainability of a lunar colony. Understanding these psychological and social factors is essential for creating a lunar habitat that is not only functional but also supportive of human well-being. Isolation and loneliness, the emotional toll of distance. One of the most immediate psychological challenges of living on the moon will be the isolation. While the moon is relatively close to Earth in astronomical terms, it's still far enough away that colonists will feel a profound sense of separation from their home planet. Unlike astronauts on the International Space Station, who orbit the Earth and can see the planet every day, lunar colonists will be living on a world where Earth is just a distant orb in the sky. This distance, both physical and emotional, could have a significant impact on mental health. Humans are social creatures, and being cut off from family, friends, and the familiar rhythms of life on Earth could lead to feelings of loneliness, depression, or anxiety. While communication with Earth will still be possible, it won't be the same as being physically present with loved ones. Even with video calls, messages, and regular updates, the time delay and the sheer remoteness of the moon could amplify feelings of isolation. Moreover, the small, close-knit community of lunar colonists will have to rely on one another for social interaction. While this can foster strong bonds, it can also create pressure. In such an enclosed environment, personal conflicts or social tensions could become magnified, with little opportunity for people to distance themselves from others. Managing these social dynamics will be critical to maintaining a healthy and functional community. Monotony and the challenge of routine. Life on the moon will likely be characterized by a high degree of monotony. Unlike life on Earth, where the environment changes daily, weather, seasons, and even the scenery, life on the moon will be stark and unchanging. The lunar landscape is barren, and while it holds scientific fascination, it offers little in the way of natural beauty or variation. Colonists will live inside artificial habitats, cut off from the outside world, and much of their time will be spent in routines focused on survival and maintenance. Over time, this monotony could lead to feelings of boredom or restlessness. Studies on astronauts and individuals in similarly isolated environments, such as those living in Antarctic research stations, have shown that lack of stimulation and routine can lead to decreased motivation and cognitive functioning. People living on the moon will need ways to keep their minds engaged and their spirits lifted, whether through meaningful work, recreation, or creative outlets. Entertainment and leisure activities will be crucial for breaking up the routine and providing mental and emotional relief. Virtual reality systems, which can simulate environments from Earth or create entirely new worlds, could play a key role in helping colonists escape the monotony of lunar life. Additionally, regular communication with Earth, even in the form of news, cultural updates, or shared events, could help keep colonists connected to the larger world and reduce the sense of isolation. The impact of low gravity on human physiology and psychology. The Moon's reduced gravity, about 1/6 of Earth's, will also have psychological effects, not just physical ones. Physically, living in a low-gravity environment can lead to muscle atrophy and bone density loss over time, as the body doesn't need to work as hard to support its own weight. Astronauts on the International Space Station who live in microgravity have experienced these effects, and lunar colonists will face similar challenges. Psychologically, living in a low-gravity environment can alter the body's sense of orientation and balance, affecting movement and spatial awareness. While these effects may seem minor, they could impact daily life, making ordinary tasks feel unusual or awkward. Colonists will have to adapt to a new way of moving, working, and even sleeping in this unfamiliar environment. The novelty of low gravity may be exciting at first. It's easy to imagine colonists enjoying the sensation of being able to leap higher or move with less effort. But over time, the challenges of living in such an environment could become more pronounced, especially as the physical toll on the body becomes more apparent. Regular exercise and physical therapy will be essential for counteracting the effects of low gravity and maintaining both physical and mental health. Community and cooperation, the social fabric of lunar life. In such an isolated environment, the social fabric of the lunar colony will be critically important. A successful lunar community will require a strong sense of cooperation, shared goals, and mutual support. The colonists will need to rely on one another for survival, and that reliance will extend beyond practical tasks like habitat maintenance or food production. It will include emotional and psychological support as well. Building a cohesive community in such a small, enclosed space will take careful planning. Social hierarchies, leadership structures, and decision-making processes will all need to be clearly defined. At the same time, colonists will need the flexibility to resolve conflicts and adapt to changing circumstances without becoming rigid or overly bureaucratic. A lunar colony will need to strike a balance between structure and adaptability, ensuring that everyone feels valued and that their contributions are recognized. One of the key challenges will be managing stress and conflict. In a small, close-knit community, even minor disagreements can quickly escalate if not addressed. Colonists will need to develop strong communication skills and emotional resilience, learning to navigate conflicts in a way that strengthens, rather than undermines, the community. Psychological support, including access to counselors or mental health professionals, either on-site or via communication with Earth, could play a vital role in helping colonists manage these challenges. Additionally, the social dynamics of a lunar colony could evolve in ways that are hard to predict. Will colonists form tight-knit groups based on their shared work or background? Will certain individuals emerge as natural leaders, while others struggle with feelings of isolation or exclusion? These are questions that psychologists and sociologists are already exploring, as the answers could have profound implications for the long-term sustainability of lunar communities. The importance of purpose and meaning. Ultimately, one of the most important factors in maintaining psychological well-being on the Moon will be a sense of purpose. Colonists will need to feel that their work is meaningful, that their contributions are valued, and that they are part of something larger than themselves. This sense of purpose is what motivates people to overcome challenges, endure hardships, and continue striving toward a goal. For lunar colonists, that purpose might come from being part of humanity's broader push to explore the universe. The knowledge that they are pioneers, living on the frontier of human civilization, could inspire a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. Their work will contribute not only to the success of the lunar colony but also to the future of space exploration and the potential for humanity to expand beyond Earth. At the same time, colonists will need personal meaning, connections to loved ones, opportunities for personal growth, and a sense of home, even in an alien environment. Balancing these broader goals with individual well-being will be critical for ensuring that lunar life is not only sustainable but also fulfilling. Looking ahead, the psychological frontier. The challenges of living on the moon are as much about the human mind as they are about the technology required to survive. While the physical infrastructure of lunar habitats will be essential, the psychological and social infrastructure will be just as important. Ensuring that people can not only survive but thrive in such an extreme environment will require careful planning, ongoing support, and a deep understanding of human behavior. As we prepare for the next chapter in human exploration, the moon will be our first real test of how well we can adapt to living on another world. The lessons we learn from the psychological and social dynamics of lunar life will shape the future of space colonization, whether on Mars or beyond. And in the end, it may be our ability to create a sense of home in such a foreign place that defines our success. Chapter 10: The Moon as a Launchpad for Mars and Beyond. As humanity prepares for its return to the moon, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The moon isn't just an end in itself, it's a stepping stone to something far greater. Establishing a foothold on the moon is not only about creating a permanent human presence there but also about setting the stage for future exploration of Mars and other parts of the solar system. The moon, with its proximity and resources, presents a unique opportunity to become a launch pad for our journey into deeper space. The idea of using the moon as a springboard for missions to Mars and beyond is not new, but it's gaining renewed attention as space agencies and private companies alike develop plans for long-term space exploration. The logic is simple. The moon is much closer than Mars, making it an ideal place to test new technologies, gather resources, and even launch spacecraft on longer missions. But how exactly will the moon serve this larger purpose? And what challenges lie ahead in turning the moon into the gateway to the solar system? Why the moon first? The case for a staging ground. The moon's proximity to Earth makes it an ideal testing ground for the technologies needed for deep space exploration. At roughly 384,000 kilometers away, the moon is close enough that missions can be conducted with relatively short travel times and manageable communication delays. This allows us to learn valuable lessons about how to sustain life and work in a hostile environment while still having the safety net of Earth nearby. A permanent presence on the moon would enable the development of crucial infrastructure, everything from power systems to habitats, that could later be adapted for Mars or even more distant destinations. The challenges of building sustainable life support systems, extracting resources, and creating a livable environment are common to both the moon and Mars, making the moon the perfect place to develop and refine these technologies before attempting the far more difficult journey to the red planet. In particular, lunar exploration allows us to test the logistics of long-term human habitation in an environment where resupply missions from Earth are possible, though still challenging. Unlike Mars, where round-trip missions would take years, the moon provides a unique opportunity to test the limits of our technology without the extreme risk and isolation that comes with a Mars mission. It's a place where mistakes can be made, lessons can be learned, and innovations can be rapidly tested. Mining the moon for fuel, lunar resources as a game changer. One of the most significant advantages of establishing a base on the moon is its potential as a source of fuel for deeper space exploration. As discussed in earlier chapters, the moon is rich in resources, including water ice located in its polar regions. This water can be split into hydrogen and oxygen through a process called electrolysis, providing a crucial source of rocket fuel. Hydrogen and oxygen are the primary components of liquid rocket propellant, which is needed to fuel spacecraft for longer journeys. The ability to mine water from the moon and convert it into fuel could transform the economics of space travel. Instead of launching all the necessary fuel from Earth, an extremely costly and inefficient process, spacecraft could be refueled on the moon, reducing the overall weight of payloads and the cost of missions. This concept of in-situ resource utilization (ISRU) is key to making deep space exploration sustainable. In this vision, the moon becomes a vital refueling station for missions to Mars and beyond. A spacecraft could launch from Earth, refuel on the moon, and then continue its journey with much lower energy and cost requirements. This would not only make missions more feasible but also open the door to more frequent and larger-scale expeditions to the outer solar system. The Moon's low gravity, an advantage for launching to deep space. Another important factor in using the Moon as a launch pad is its low gravity. The Moon's gravitational pull is only about 1/6 that of Earth's, which means it takes far less energy to launch a spacecraft from the Moon's surface than from Earth. On Earth, rockets require massive amounts of fuel just to escape the planet's gravitational well. On the Moon, this fuel requirement is drastically reduced, making it much easier and cheaper to launch missions from the lunar surface. This low gravity advantage is crucial for sending spacecraft to distant destinations like Mars. Instead of launching large, fully fueled spacecraft from Earth, we could launch lighter, more efficient vehicles to the Moon, where they could be refueled and equipped for the next leg of their journey. This makes the Moon not just a destination, but a strategic asset in the broader scheme of space exploration. In addition to fuel savings, the Moon's low gravity also opens up new possibilities for manufacturing in space. A lunar base could serve as a center for building spacecraft or components that are then assembled in lunar orbit or on the surface before launching into deep space. This could reduce the cost and complexity of space missions, as materials mined and processed on the Moon wouldn't need to be shipped from Earth. Testing technologies for Mars. Learning from the Moon. The Moon offers a unique environment in which to test the technologies needed for long-duration space travel and habitation. The challenges of surviving on the Moon, harsh temperatures, radiation exposure, resource scarcity, are similar to those that astronauts will face on Mars. By developing technologies that allow humans to live and work on the Moon, we can gain valuable insights into what will be required for a successful Mars mission. For example, life support systems that recycle air, water, and waste will be critical for any long-term mission to Mars. The Moon's relatively close proximity to Earth provides an ideal location to test these systems in a real-world setting, where failures can be addressed and systems refined before being deployed on a mission to Mars, where the stakes are much higher. Habitat construction is another area where the Moon can serve as a proving ground. Lunar habitats must be able to protect inhabitants from extreme temperatures, cosmic radiation, and micrometeoroid impacts, all challenges that will also be faced on Mars. By building and refining these habitats on the Moon, we can ensure that future Mars habitats will be safe, efficient, and capable of supporting life for extended periods. The Moon as a gateway to the solar system. Ultimately, the Moon's role as a launchpad for Mars and beyond is about more than just the next destination in human space exploration. It's about humanity's future as a spacefaring species. The Moon represents the first step in a much larger journey, one that could eventually take us to the outer planets, their moons, and perhaps even beyond the solar system. By establishing a permanent presence on the Moon, we are laying the foundation for a new era of exploration. The lessons we learn, the technologies we develop, and the infrastructure we build on the Moon will serve as the basis for future missions that reach farther into the cosmos. In this way, the Moon becomes not just a destination but a gateway to the stars. Mars, of course, is the next logical step in this journey. But beyond Mars lie the icy moons of Jupiter and Saturn, the asteroid belt, and the vast outer reaches of our solar system. Each of these destinations presents its own challenges and opportunities, and the Moon will be our first real test of whether we can live and thrive on worlds beyond Earth. The vision of the future. A multiplanetary species. The ultimate goal of using the Moon as a launch pad is to enable humanity to become a multiplanetary species. This vision, championed by leaders in the space industry like Elon Musk, is driven by the belief that humanity's survival may one day depend on our ability to spread beyond Earth. Whether it's the threat of environmental collapse, resource depletion, or even cosmic events like asteroid impacts, the idea is that by establishing colonies on other planets, we can safeguard the future of human civilization. The Moon is the first step in this journey. By building a thriving lunar colony, we will have proven that humans can live off Earth, adapt to new environments, and harness the resources of other worlds. This knowledge and experience will be essential as we push forward to Mars, where the challenges will be even greater. But the dream doesn't stop at Mars. If we can establish sustainable colonies on the Moon and Mars, there's no reason to believe we couldn't eventually expand even farther. The moon will serve as our proving ground, our launchpad, and, ultimately, the foundation for humanity's future in space. Conclusion: the future of humanity in space. As we look ahead to the future of space exploration, the moon stands at the forefront of our journey beyond Earth. It is no longer just the distant, unreachable object of human dreams. It is now our stepping stone to the stars. The vision of colonizing the moon is not simply about planting flags or proving what we can achieve technologically. It's about fundamentally redefining our place in the universe. It's about securing the future of humanity, pushing the boundaries of our capabilities, and exploring the untapped potential of a new world. The challenges are immense. Living on the moon requires overcoming extreme conditions, building sustainable habitats, and learning to work with the moon's resources. It demands collaboration between nations, innovation from the private sector, and a commitment to ethical exploration. The psychological and social pressures of living so far from Earth will test human resilience like never before. But these challenges are also opportunities. Each obstacle we overcome will teach us more about what it means to adapt, survive, and thrive in environments beyond our home planet. The moon offers more than just a destination. It offers a platform for the future. By establishing a permanent presence there, we open up the possibility of further exploration into the solar system. The moon could become our launchpad to Mars and beyond, a place where we can refuel, test new technologies, and prepare for even more ambitious missions. Its resources, especially water, could become the fuel that powers the next generation of spacecraft, making journeys to distant planets more feasible than ever before. Yet beyond the scientific and technological possibilities, there is a deeper, more human reason for returning to the moon and for pushing outward into the cosmos. Throughout history, we have been driven by the urge to explore, to go beyond the known and discover what lies on the other side. The moon is part of that legacy. It represents our shared desire to transcend the limits of Earth and seek new frontiers. And as we build a future on the moon, we are building a future where humanity is not confined to one planet, but free to explore the infinite wonders of the universe. This book has explored the reasons why we should go to the moon, the challenges we will face, and the opportunities that await us. From the scientific potential of lunar exploration to the role of private companies, the legal frameworks, and the psychological impact of living in space, every aspect of this journey is part of a larger puzzle, one that will shape the future of human civilization. The next few decades will be critical in determining how we approach space exploration. The decisions we make now, about collaboration, resource use, and how we manage our presence beyond Earth, will define not only the success of lunar colonization but also the future of our species as a spacefaring civilization. If we succeed, the moon could be the first of many steps toward becoming a multiplanetary species, where humans live, work, and build new lives on other worlds. In the end, the dream of living on the moon isn't just about the technology or the science. It's about the spirit of exploration that has driven humanity for millennia. It's about our desire to reach for the stars, to ask what lies beyond the horizon, and to take that next giant leap into the unknown. The moon is waiting, and so is the future. All we have to do is step forward.